Hey boys and girls, welcome back to another video. I was on this forum, I think it was Auto Geek, this was a few years ago, because Meguiar's is such a famously, wildly popular product brand line. The question came up with their bottles specifically, because this is accepted as what's called, and it's labeled as a 32-ounce bottle. Now if you're on the metric scale, that equates to roughly 950 milliliters. So 32 ounces here in America. What's cool about their bottles is that they have some standardized dilution ratios marked on the bottle. You have 4:1, 10:1. What does a dilution ratio even mean? Because this is a very commonly asked question. So when you hear 10:1 or 4:1, what that means is that you have a concentrate that you want to dilute down and you want to mix it with water or some other chemical. Typically you're going to mix a concentrate with water because that aids in shipping costs, because now it's a concentrate. You buy a concentrate of the chemicals that you can't have access to, but everyone as a rule has access to water. So it's a very good way of being economical. The problem becomes, especially if you're an OCD kind of guy like myself and you overthink the details and you overtalk the details like myself, because I want to know, I'm very inquisitive and I want to know what the real answer is. So the debate on this forum came up. Okay, Meguiar's bottles, I like it because they're marked, so I know specifically through visually exactly what's in this bottle. I know without smelling it or testing it, it's like, hey, that's got super degreaser. You know how I know that? It says right on the bottle. Very cool strategy. The problem comes down to there's different dilution ratios that guys want to mix up. I myself use different dilution ratios, and many people will ask me, Darren, what dilution ratio do you use? 4:1, 5:1, 10:1, 7:1, whatever. So, on this bottle, it is marked for you 4:1, 10:1. But what I want to clarify for you, if this is a 32-ounce bottle, where is the 32-ounce marking? Is it 32 ounces at the very top here, which would not allow any room for a sprayer to be inserted, because once you did, this is going to take up some of that volume. It's going to displace that water in, or the liquid solution, and it's going to overfill. So logic would tell me, or strongly suggest, that Meguiar's will compensate for that. How much did they compensate for it though? So did they adjust the 32-ounce mark there, somewhere along one of these ribs, down here at the bottom of the rib, or down here at this other line of demarcation? And I use that word frequently, demarcation. What the heck does that even mean? Well, that is a specific visual point of separation. So if you have this and you have that, and you put them together, that creates, let's go with the fist, a very definitive line of separation. It's called, that separation is the line of demarcation. So if I was to take an area of my arm and I say, okay, you see that point right there? And you're like, well, which point are you talking about, Darren? You have so many freckles and sunspots, I don't know what you're talking about. You know why? There's no distinct line of demarcation. So if I scratch a mark on my arm, which I'm doing, now I've just created a line of demarcation. Okay, a little tangent. With that said, let's get back to the original point. Where on Meguiar's bottle specifically is the 32-ounce mark? So what I've done is I've consulted with a very popular brand of measuring cups called Pyrex. Here in the States, it's very popular. It is for the cooking world. I trust the measurements in here, well, for a lot of reasons. But let's just say I trust it. So what I've done is I've measured in this bigger measuring cup 32 ounces specifically. Let's pull in and verify. See this? 32 ounces. I'm going to hover above, below the water line, so that you can see that it is in fact right at 32 ounces. Assuming that we are going to have to, let me rephrase that. Eventually you have to assign faith, belief in something. And that's what's becoming more difficult today in the world of technology. Who do we actually believe? In this moment, I've chosen to believe that Pyrex probably has nailed it to a very tight tolerance. So there is where I'm going to assign my trust. So if I trust that that is in fact 32 ounces, let's see where the true 32 ounce mark is on a Meguiar's bottle. You hear that noise? Does it make you guys want to suddenly go take a leak? And you can hear the volume pitch changes as the area of the bottle is being displaced. The air is being displaced by the water. I'm being very careful about this because I'm directing this in a large part to the OCD guys amongst us, because we want to verify as precisely as possible. Wait for the shake, wait for the tap. We don't want any drippage. So there's some air bubbles in there, which as I release those air bubbles is only going to make that line lower subtly, if I pronounce that right. So, see that line? I'm going to cast this in so you can see it hopefully sharper, and my camera's doing what it's intended to do, which is autofocus. So that line is right there. This would be my question. Meguiar's, why did you make the line of 32 ounces right there? That seems random. That seems arbitrary. Why not there? Why not here? Why not down there? Why not in a more logical place that we could precisely, decisively quantify precisely on some line? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Now, Mike Phillips was part of that original discussion, which has been brought up many times. And if I recall, and I do believe I'm recalling correctly, is that the conclusion was that it was at the bottom of the ribs of the neck of the bottle, which in fact, unless, wait for it, this is incorrect, which of course is a possibility. But once again, you've got to assign faith somewhere. I've got a healthy level of faith in Pyrex and their measurements and their markings. So I'm okay with that. Now I've just verified for the record where in fact the 32 ounce mark is on a Meguiar's bottle. But why the hell is that even important? Well, for all you OCD guys and all you guys that have reached out to me and said, hey Darren, what's the exact dilution ratio that you use? Well, my simple answer is that unless you're all crazy about it, which you're probably not going to be doing, otherwise you wouldn't be asking that question, it's not going to make or break your world. What's cool about some bottles, Meguiar's specifically, never mind that they're labeled as a dedicated product, but they have dilution ratios marked on the side. Here we have 4:1, 10:1. The problem becomes this. In their instructions of how to use those markings, they don't clarify where the 32 ounce marking is. Let me explain. The simple direction is add water first to proper dilution ratio. Now I had to hesitate on those words because I failed to put on my readers, because yes, I'm going in Clark Kent mode now. Dig Clark Kent, that's Sean behind the camera today, by the way. Blue Tech Mobile Detailing. Sean, you have a channel now, right?
That's right.
Yes, so check it out. So, my readers, add water first to proper dilution ratio. So 4:1, common dilution ratio. 10:1, common dilution ratio. What does that mean? 1 part concentrate, 4 equal parts of water. So, according to these rather generalized directions, if you want a concentrate or a final solution that's been diluted down 4 parts to 1 as per manufacturer's instructions or as per your randomness in life, you would fill this bottle with water to this line for a 4-to-1 dilution ratio. The problem is, okay, now it's time to add my concentrate. Do I add it to this line? Do I add it to this line? To this line? To this line? Meguiar's, where do I add it? Like, if I'm OCD, that's going to spin me out of control. 10-to-1, a less strong dilution ratio. So I filled up to here. Once again, now it's time to add my concentrate. Where do I go, Meguiar's? I'm lost. Help me. Throw me a lifeline. So now we verified that the 32-ounce line is here. So in the context of this very boring moment, if you want 4-to-1, go here, fill it up with water. Your line of demarcation for 32 ounces on the Meguiar's bottles is approximately 2 to 3 ribs up, just to clarify. Now, because I've got a little bit of bubblage going on, which I know I just made up a word, there's no such thing as bubblage. So there's some air bubbles, which is taking up some of the volume in there. If I was able to release all those air bubbles, this water would then dip down a little bit. So I'm going to go on record and say that it is precisely, according to Pyrex, 2 ribs from the bottom. So at the top of that 2 ribs, so the line of demarcation between rib number 2, rib number 3, that line, that's the winning line. So water there, 4-to-1, 10-to-1. The rest, that second rib, will be your precise dilution ratio. Wow! I don't know about you, Sean, but that's crazy. The amount of time it takes just to clarify like one facet of the 250,000 facets of the world of auto detailing.
Yep.
But what's interesting is that this subject comes up, or I should restate that. What I find very interesting is how often this subject comes up. So I generally just answer guys like, okay, I use a 10-to-1 dilution ratio, for example, when I'm using simple green for my interior cleanings. If I need it stronger, I'll default to maybe a 5-to-1, a 4-to-1, whatever to 1. Point is unless you know the precise measurement here, you're going to be confused when it comes time to add your concentrate. So this is me going on record as per the bottles of Meguiar's bottles, because believe it or not, it's a commonly asked question. Okay, stop the press, because I've got Sean, my camera guy, which you know. So what he did is, while he's behind the scenes and I'm over here droning and pulling my own chain and talking incessantly, he looked up on AutoGeekonline.net, which is the detailing forum. So he found, and I knew they existed because I've read some of these in the past, this guy called ND, Nancy Darren, just to clarify those letters, ND Sports. Junior member, join date 2015, location Chicago, Illinois. He has made 14 posts. This comes from, the post date is February 20th, 2015 at 10:30 a.m. just to be precise. Of course, I don't know what time setting this is. Could be Pacific, Mountain.
It's probably like
Eastern.
they're probably 2 hours ahead of us.
So his question is this: Chemical Guys 32-ounce spray bottle dilution ratio off? Question mark. So this may seem like a stupid question, and I'm not afraid to admit that my math skills are not the best. By the way, my math skills suck. Numbers in my brain, they just do not cohabitate very well at all. I bought a 32-ounce spray bottle from Chemical Guys, and I was playing around with the dilution levels with regular water, and I think the dilution ratio, according to the bottle, is off par. I was wondering if anybody who might own one of these exact bottles can let me know if I'm using the ratio chart wrong. As you can see from the chart, I fill the water line to the 1-to-1 ratio, which should be 16 ounces of water, correct? So, in case you don't understand that, what he means by that is if we accept this as a 32-ounce bottle, and on the chemical guy's bottle it says very precisely a 1-to-1, he fills it up to level 1, which would essentially split that bottle in half. Well, I have an answer for that, but that's his question is like, okay, if that's 1-to-1, 1 part water, equal part concentrate, it should fill up the entire bottle, and yet it doesn't. To read on, he says, but when I poured the 16-ounce water, but when I pour the water back into a Pyrex, which is what I'm also using today, measuring cup, the 1-to-1 ratio is really only 14 ounces of water. I know I'm probably being too anal. Anal. There's another word. Anal retentive. That's what he's referring to as this term in the psychological world or psychology world called anal retentive. And that has to do with guys that overthink things. And anyhow, I'm not trying to be anal, but then there's really no point in paying extra, which is a valid point, dude, for the dilution chart if it's not accurate to begin with. I also noticed that the bottle can actually hold a total of 34 to 36 ounces. And he shows some pictures, which I can show you. Literally, he set it up on his kitchen counter, it looks like, and has essentially done the same thing I've done, only he's done it with a chemical guy's bottle, but he has a Pyrex measuring cup there.
Yeah, anyways.
So that's my little sidebar, is that obviously it's not just a chemical, or I'm sorry, it's not just a Meguiar's moment, it's a chemical guy's moment. So to clarify for that guy, and maybe Sean, you could track that dude down or go back on that forum. And,
Yeah, I'm actually, yeah.
Is I accept, once again, that you're going to need some room to compensate for one, the sprayer shaft that's got to be inserted in there, because that's going to take up some room. I also accept that there probably needs to be a little wiggle room in there. So that 1-to-1, I kind of accept that they adjusted for a little bit of wiggle room in your dilution ratios. The problem is none of them are clear about where that 32-ounce line really is. That's what's frustrating. Oh, as a side note, what I want to also direct this video towards is a guy named Michael Stoops, who I think is the world director of Meguiar's now, and I'm pretty certain he still is. So perhaps Michael Stoops could, one of my viewers probably has a way, because someone out there I know is part of these forums, and you have time to go on these forums. I do not. So you could reach out to Michael Stoops and say, hey, this dude named Darren, which he knows me personally, because he's told me firsthand how many calls he gets at Meguiar saying, hey, Darren said I could use super degreaser on leather. Hey, Darren said I can use Meguiar's Express Wax in the sun. And Darren said I could use it on leather to wax my seats. And he's like, oh my gosh. Anyhow, so maybe he can verify, like, okay, where is, according to Meguiar's, the exact 32-ounce mark? And maybe you could actually challenge him and say, okay, Michael, where is the mark? I want to know. And he could just tell you on the phone, or he can tell you in a text. Of course, I know Michael is a very logical guy, so his head's going to want to explode the second he gets this text message from some random follower of mine. But I'm curious what he would go on record as to saying, and perhaps, since Meguiar's is a multi-million-dollar company, which is now owned by 3M, it's like you would think, okay, at that level, can we get our bottles correctly labeled? I mean, for the love of Pete. I'm just going to add that. So with that said, by all means, give me your feedback. You can reference discussions you've heard in forums, because I would love to see what those are. That's where Sean comes in. He's got a little more time on his hands right now. He's growing his business, so he will do intel for me, which is short for intelligence, in case you don't know. He'll do some intel for me, and so he'll be able to read those comments. And I'd be curious to see which forums, because there's a lot of, like, Detailed Image, I think, has a forum. AutoGeek has a forum. There's lots of detailing forums. So I guarantee if you go on those forums, there's going to be healthy debates as to where that line actually is. I've just verified it for my own eyes, but I'm going to add that it's based on me putting my faith in Pyrex cooking measuring containers, jars, whatever you want to call them. Okay, in 200,000 words or less, we'll see you on the next video. Always check the description box below. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like it. You can find Sean at Blue Tech Mobile Detailing. And until next time, we'll see you on the next video.